Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. It looks like we have almost 50 people, so we're going to get started. Welcome to the 117th Annual Meeting of the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo. It is my pleasure to introduce our JFGT President, Rich Rusgo. If you would like to highlight the speaker tonight during the meeting, in the upper right of your screen, you should have a view button. You can select that button and choose the speaker view to highlight the person who is speaking. And with that, Rich, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the 2021 Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo annual meeting. We are obviously conducting tonight's meeting via Zoom. All of you will be muted unless you are a speaker or unless you have a question during the business portion of the meeting. If you have a question, please raise your hand to notify the host. You can raise your hand by going to the Participants tab and click on Raise Hand. You can lower your hand by clicking Lower Hand. As you all know, everything continued to be different this year. Instead of being together, we continue to use technology in new ways. It is amazing how COVID-19 has changed not just our community, but communities worldwide. Our Federation's response to COVID has been swift and comprehensive. Not only did we respond to our Jewish community, we also responded to the needs to our local community at large by providing financial assistance, tending to food insecurities, distributing masks, and connecting community members to resources. Our dedicated, motivated, and passionate Federation team members under our Executive Director, Stephen Rothschild's leadership, has shown resilience and engaged the community in new ways to provide innovative and safe programming and services that we have been delivering to our community for decades. Our Federation staff never stopped what they were doing during this pandemic. A big thank you to the entire Federation team. Sadly, COVID-19 still has not allowed our community to properly mourn the lives that we have lost in the past 18 months. Many community members were unable to be with their loved ones when they passed away and have not been able to celebrate the life of a family member, a friend, or a community member due to COVID restrictions. At this time, in honor and memory of all of those who we have lost in our community during the pandemic, please join me in remembering their lives and everything they contributed to our community with a moment of silence. Thank you. We will now begin the business portion of our annual meeting. I would like to begin by recognizing outgoing members of the JFGT standing committees and board members. All of our outgoing standing committee members and board members will be receiving mementos acknowledging their dedicated service following tonight's meeting. These recognition pieces will be presented to those leaving their positions this year, as well as those whose terms and services ended last year. Starting with the Jewish Family and Social Services Committee, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Family and Social Service Committee member and chair, Ross Shaban. Ross served as president of Jewish Family Service previously and was instrumental in assisting us with the transition of JFS into the JFSS Standing Committee of the board. We are grateful for his passionate service and for sharing his passion for Jewish service with his daughter Rosemary, who will now continue a family tradition on our JFSS committee. Thank you, Ross. Next, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Education Committee member and chair, Joanne Rubin. Joanne has been an important voice and fixture on the board and as president of the Toledo Board of Jewish Education over a decade. She was instrumental in facilitating the merger of TBJE into the Federation last year. She has, by her own admission, at times challenged the board, its assumptions and strategy, but has done it with a deep sense of what she thinks is best for our community. She has served admirably, not only as not only on the board, but was also a very strong standing member of the Jewish Community Relations Council, completing that service just last year. She is a strong supporter of Jewish education, Israel, and the Toledo Humane Society. Thank you, Joanne, for your many, many years of dedicated service. At this time, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Community Relations Council member, Tom Castle. Tom, who is also very active at B'nai Israel, has been very involved in multi-faith efforts for the JCRC. He is thoughtful in his analysis of issues facing the JCRC and has not hesitated to take initiative on important projects. Over the past year, the JCRC met regularly and worked to integrate our new director, Daniel Perlman. Tom was a very important part of that process. Tom is also leaving the JFGT board. Thank you, Tom, for your service for both the JCRC and the JFGT board. At this time, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo campaign cabinet member, Benjamin Whitney. We are grateful to Ben for his efforts as one of the youngest leaders on our campaign cabinets. Ben was a very active participant at UT Hillel before joining the cabinet, and we sincerely appreciate his commitment and service to Jewish Toledo. Thank you, Ben. At this time, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Senior Services Supporting Organization President, John Levine. As I hope many of you realize, JSSSO is the primary funder of our community's senior programs and services. Under John's steady leadership, the SO has stayed true to its obligation to see that the needs of Jewish seniors are met. John has asked hard questions and reminded us of the sacred tasks we have to those who have been part of our community for the longest time. As he ends his service, his influence and voice will continue to inform and guide the work of the SO. John, thank you for your service. At this time, I would like to recognize our outgoing Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo board members. Let's begin with Gary Delman. Gary is a past president at JFGT, but has continued to serve as our secretary and a member of our executive committee. Gary has participated in countless meetings and has provided outstanding insights and leadership. Gary has been very engaged in our ongoing relationship with the YMCA and has been an active member of our property committee. Thank you, Gary. Eric DeBow. Eric is also a past JFGT president, has served as chair of our nominating committee and a member of our executive committee. Eric has also been instrumental in helping to onboard Stephen and has been a co-chair of our strategic planning committee and an active participant of our property committee. He has a keen mind and a real commitment to this community. Thank you, Eric. Tom Castle, Joanne Rubin, and Ross Chapin, thank you again for your service on the board. Steve Marcus, Gail Merrow, and Corey Russell. As synagogue presidents, you each had a double burden. You were not only instrumental in the lives of your own congregations, but you participated in making the entire community better by lending your time and voice to our JFGT board. We are grateful for your collective efforts. Sheila Odesky. Sheila, as a board member and a chair of our campaign cabinets, you have done a great job and we greatly appreciate your efforts. We are so very grateful that despite personal loss, you recognize that your love of this community compelled you to continue serving. Thank you for being our campaign cabinet chair, for being a part of our executive committee, and for your service on the board. Lori Gross. Lori, thank you for your service as our vice president. Over the past several years, you have made a significant commitment of time and effort to learn about and help lead the Federation as an officer and board member. Tonight, you will make a well-deserved transition to the role of president, and I know that you will do an outstanding job. Mark Greenblatt. Mark, thank you for your service as our treasurer and board member. You have also devoted many hours of time and effort to the role of treasurer. You have a legacy of leadership in the community with lessons you have well learned from your mom, Alex, of blessed memory, and your dad, Dick. You have set a terrific example for other leaders in our community. To conclude, I want to thank the outgoing officers, board members, and committee members for volunteering your time to be part of one of the Federation boards and committees. Our successes are your successes. The Federation would not have its strength and success without all of our volunteers and their leadership. Your dedication, devotion, and support to the Jewish community and the Jewish people is critical to fulfilling our mission, and we thank you for your service to our community. At this time, we will move to the election of officers and directors of the Federation. It is my pleasure to present to you the Chair of the Federation's Nominating Committee, Eric Dubow.
Thank you, Rich. In my role as Nominating Committee Chair, it's my pleasure to deliver this report. Pursuant to the bylaws, the Nominating Committee met and approved a slate of officers, directors, and standing committee chairs. So the names were published to the community along with a request for additional nominations. No additional names were received. So let me present the following names for the following positions. Lori Gross, President. Mark Greenblatt, Vice President. Tamara Green, Secretary. Chad Kripke, Treasurer. Rich Rusgo, Immediate Past President of the Federation. The Standing Committee Chairs, Sue Ann Hochberg, Jewish Community Relations Council. Julie Romanoff, Campaign Cabinet. David Berland, Jewish Family and Social Services Committee. Kate Thies, Jewish Education Committee. Lauren Sachs, Community Program Committee. We also have on the board Dan Steinberg in his role as chair of the Toledo Jewish Community Foundation. Ken Brochin in his role as president of Jewish Senior Services. Additional board members. We will have a congregational committee representative, which will be determined by the congregational committee, and Adam Goldberg will also be a board member. So having presented the slate, I would move that the slate of officers, directors, and standing committee chairs as presented be approved.
Rich, just unmute in the bottom left.
Thank you. It has, let's see, it has been moved that the slate of officers, directors, and standing committee chairs be approved as presented. Is there a second to this motion?
I second.
Thank you, Lori. Is there any discussion on the motion? A reminder, if you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand to notify the host. You can raise your hand by going to the Participants tab and click on Raise Hand. You can lower your hand by clicking Lower Hand. So we'll give a moment to see if anyone has any comments or questions. Seeing no discussion at the moment, I will call for a vote on the motion to approve the slate of officers. Once voting is open, you will see a poll on your screen. You will be able to vote yay, nay, or abstain by clicking the button on your screen. A simple majority of yay votes is required for approval. So please indicate your vote now. It should be on your screen. The results are automatically tabulated and will be reported to myself and to Stephen.
Excuse me, co-host, just make sure not to click to stop polls. 1 second.
Again, please take a moment to place your votes. We will be closing the voting in a few moments.
There was actually a technical glitch. We will be relaunching the poll. It will just take a moment.
Okay.
So I will be launching it now, and co-hosts, please do not click to stop it. Here we go. Please vote accordingly.
Again, please place your votes. We will be closing voting in a moment.
Rich, you have enough votes.
Okay, excellent. So therefore, we are now closing the voting. I am pleased to report that the slate of officers, directors, and standing committee chairs have been approved. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of our officers and directors and standing committee chairs who are now officially begin or continue their service to our community. I would now like to call on Stephen to formally install our officers, directors, and chairs.
Thank you, Rich, and congratulations to our new officers and directors. It is now my privilege to install you as officers, directors, and chairs. I quote from Psalm 133, "Behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. We pray that the meetings of our board be graced by harmony and friendship as becomes brothers and sisters who work together for Judaism and our community. Leadership means service. It is not for glory and honor, but for service that all of you have been chosen. May Almighty God, who bestows glory to flesh and blood, bless you with life, health, and happiness, and fulfill you with respect to the promise of Psalm 92. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree and grow mighty like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Lord, they shall flourish in the courts of our God. Even in old age, they shall bring forth fruit. They shall be full of vigor and strength, declaring that the Lord is just, my rock in whom there is no unrighteousness. Pledge yourselves to perform all the duties, responsibilities, functions, and services demanded of you, and devote yourselves wholeheartedly to the service of our community. Congratulations to all of you."
Thank you, Stephen. I would like to now introduce, and I'm honored to do so, introduce Lori Gross, our incoming president, to give a few remarks.
Thank you for your confidence in me. When I think back to my involvement in the board, I can't believe how quickly the last 8 years have gone. My path has been different than many people within this community. Although I grew up in Toledo and my dad had been very involved with the Federation, I lived in Ann Arbor for almost 15 years. And yes, I'm going to throw a Go Blue in there for you Ohio State fans. And when I moved back to Toledo, I was completely out of the Jewish community loop. Working full-time as a single mother of twins didn't leave a lot of time for community involvement. Then they went to college and I was trying to decide what to do with my time and where to put my volunteer efforts. I didn't think of the Federation because I didn't know much about it until I attended an event and started talking to some people. Next thing I knew, Gary Delman and Joel were approaching me to become involved in the board. So I took the leap and said yes. And I'm so glad I did. What a great organization. And it's amazing how much we do for the community. Which leads me into thanking Rich for all his hard work these many years as a volunteer, and particularly these last 2 years as president. His leadership has been exemplary, especially through this last year of COVID. He's going to be a hard act to follow, but I'm excited about this opportunity, and I look forward to working with Steve, the Federation staff, the board of directors, and you, the Jewish community of Toledo, as we transition back to a more normal life and address the ongoing challenges that face our community and the Jewish people worldwide. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. And just one comment, you got this. I am fully confident that you are ready for being our next president. Bart, that regarding, I guess it's my time to make my president's remark. So let's do it. As I was writing my president's remark for this year's Federation's annual meeting, I took a moment to reflect on the struggles of our community, state, and country, and the world because of COVID-19. The Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo stepped up and helped those who were in need. We found ways to provide the services our community needed and found creative ways to offer our great and innovative programs. I want to recognize our Federation professionals who performed at exceptional levels during the pandemic. Our Toledo Federation, including our Executive Director, Stephen Rothschild, our directors, and our entire team, stepped to the plate and stayed in the batter's box, working together to find ways to make things better for our community and to make a positive difference. For their outstanding efforts, I, on behalf of all of you, would like to applaud them for their efforts, their accomplishments, and their dedication to our community. And it has been a true honor serving as president over the past 2 years. This was a position I never would have considered accepting years ago. I started my volunteer life with the Federation over 20 years ago when Elliot Feitz, then Jewish Family Services president, asked me to be on the JFS board. Elliot saw something inside of me that I did not know existed. After years serving on the JFS board and completing my term as JFS president, I joined the Federation board. Years later, I found myself as your Federation president, who is in the process of completing my term. Thank you to Elliot for seeing a leadership quality inside of me that was hidden at that time in my life. I want to thank and acknowledge the entire Federation team who guided me through these past several years. Their wisdom and energy were truly a blessing. I also want to thank Stephen, who I worked with closely for the past 2 years, for his guidance and leadership. This experience has allowed me to grow as an individual and to give back to a community that means so much to me and my family. As you all know, I am one of an army of volunteers who gave their time to serve on the Federation board, one of its committees or subcommittees. Our Federation had over 150 volunteers this past year who gave hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteer hours to you, our community. Without this selfless and generous gift of time, we would not be who we are today. True happiness is helping others in our community who are in need. Over the past year, the Federation's executive officers, the Federation board, and all of our committees worked diligently to provide our Federation with the direction, vision, and leadership. In connection with restructuring, our various committees were asked to perform a lot of hard work necessary to determine the best way to move forward on several of the Federation's initiatives. I would like to send out a big shout out to the Federation's executive board and all the directors for their tireless work on several initiatives from this past year. We had some difficult discussions and made some tough decisions. Their passion for this community was clearly seen during our meetings. Over the past 2 years, with former Federation President Eric DeBoe's oversight, we continued a strategic planning initiative. Our strategic planning committee had a goal to review the Federation's direction by assessing both where we are and where we're going. We updated our mission, vision, and our core values, as well as our long-term goals, and created an action plan on how to make them a reality. We modified our board structure to adjust to the changes occurring in our community. Over the past year, we have focused on the goals and initiatives from our strategic plan. Stephen's Executive Director's report will provide more details on the progress being made on the strategic plan recommendations. The Federation made security a major priority in the past year. Most significantly, we hired David Tallis, former Maumee Chief of Police, as our Community Asset, Safety, and Security Manager, who will be working with local, state, and national officials in the effort to keep us all safe and secure as possible. The Federation's accomplishments would not have occurred without great lay leaders, professional Federation staff, and your support. Enough cannot be said to all of you who continue to support our programs and use our services. Please continue to volunteer your valuable time so we all can continue to provide the programs and services that our community needs and deserves. Please continue to reach out to me, Stephen, Lori, or any of our professional staff if you or someone you know needs food or financial assistance through these challenging times. Unity is strength. When there is great teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. Finally, a big shout out to all of you who continue to support our campaign by giving generously to our Federation. From me to all of you, thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce to you Stephen Rothschild, the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo, to present his Executive Director's report. Stephen?
Thank you very much, Rich. Friends, in August of 2020, we were 6 months into the COVID pandemic, and I delivered my 2019-2020 annual report to the community 2 months later than usual. It is now June of 2021, and unbelievably, I will celebrate 2 years with the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo next month. I say celebrate quite deliberately because we have a lot to celebrate. While most of the last 2 years was not what we expected, it was still a time worthy of celebrating because every minute in the life of our community is meaningful and special. We were dealt an awful hand, but now we are cautiously optimistic that we are emerging from the surreal isolation that separated us physically, and I am proud to say that we are ready for whatever challenge lies ahead. As Rich mentioned, our work remains focused on the board's strategic priorities. We are making strides to follow best practices for similar nonprofits. We are integrating 3 new professionals, including Daniel Perlman, Jewish Community Relations Council Director, Abby Hoykowitz, the Marketing, Social Media, and Communications Manager, and Dave Tullis, our Community Asset Safety and Security Manager. As of tonight, we are also seeking to fill 3 other open positions, including a new Director of Philanthropic Services, a preschool teacher, and a program associate. In the area of board governance and development, we have streamlined the executive committee and board meetings to make them more meaningful and efficient. We have reduced the board to 14 directors, which will make for a more engaged, nimble, and effective group. We are very excited about the board's new congregational committee. This committee, made up of a lay representative and a clergy member from each of our congregations and Chabad, with me as a non-voting member, will select one of its lay members to be a JFGT director for a 1-year term. Each of the represented organizations will have a chance to have its layperson serve on the JFGT board in rotation. This committee has the chance to take up and address issues of community cooperation, including calendaring, identifying priorities for JFGT, and unifying around shared values, wants, and needs, while respecting the different religious interpretations, practices, and priorities of the group. In the area of volunteer and leadership development, we have restructured the JCRC and expanded the number of voting members to 7. By creating 5 specific task forces with lay chairs of each who are now voting members of the JCRC, we have divided and focused the work of the JCRC into manageable parts with task forces for 1, an Israel advocacy and engagement, 2, community engagement, 3, anti-Semitism, hate, and Holocaust education, 4, government and media affairs, and 5, current issues and civic engagement. With rising anti-Semitism, diverse and challenging differences of opinion regarding Israel, and a highly fractured public square over issues of immigration, racism, and social justice, among other topics, the work of the JCRC is essential for informing, advocating, and protecting our Jewish community and our interests in matters of civic concern. We have also made a commitment to revitalizing our standing committee structure and are including several new emerging young leaders on the JCRC, the Community Programs Committee, Finance and Technology Committee, and the Jewish Family and Social Services Committee. In the area of fundraising and financial resource development, we are working hard to implement a launch of Foundant Community Suite, which will allow our Toledo Jewish Community Foundation donor-advised fund holders to access information regarding their funds online and to make funding recommendations easily and efficiently. We are also engaged in significant efforts to improve the data in our community database so that we can effectively maintain important contact and relationships with all members of our community. Programming and delivering services over the last 10 months has been challenging, but well received, attended, and accepted. Despite the lack of in-person programs, we remained in close touch with our community via phone calls, emails, the Toledo Jewish News, drive-through programs, and Zoom events. We are quite proud that despite COVID, we were largely able to keep the Gan Yeladim preschool program operational and in person. Our Hillel programs at the University of Toledo and Bowling Green State University also were able to provide meaningful programs, connections, and support to Jewish students who were challenged like no students have ever been challenged before. Outside of our community, we invested considerable time, effort, and gave our support to the V Project to encourage vaccination against COVID in Northwest Ohio. We participated in interfaith efforts and have developed new relationships around shared priorities. These connections are an important first step in building valuable relationships that we can reach out to in difficult times. We also, within the last year as a community, made financial contributions to meet food insufficiencies being addressed by the YMCA and Connecting Meals to Kids. Speaking of difficult times, ensuring the safety and security of our community remains a paramount priority. We have committed significant resources to staying informed and sharing the latest and best information on how we protect our community. This includes the hiring of Dave Tullis, as well as our participation in an information sharing group consisting of the other Ohio major Jewish federations. Our physical facilities continue to prove challenging. Our administrative offices do not meet our needs and do not encourage or support organic, natural, and meaningful interaction with our community. We do not have adequate or appropriate space to simultaneously conduct confidential Jewish family social service referrals and food pantry services while engaging in boisterous and appropriately loud exercise classes and other programs for active older adults in the CCatch building. As COVID has made clear, maintaining operations in separate buildings subject to different security needs, operational protocols, and control is difficult and inefficient. A property committee of the board is aware of the challenges and has begun to explore possible solutions and opportunities with the YMCA and others. This will be a significant focus of efforts over the next year. I have so much more that I could say, but this report is already too lengthy. I will close with a couple of thanks and a brief story. I need to thank our outgoing officers and directors, Gary Delman, Eric Dubow, Ross Chabon, Joanne Rubin, Corey Russell, Sheila Odeski, Gail Miro, Steve Marcus, and Tom Castle. Your efforts, some of you over many, many years, have been outstanding and will be missed. Special mention of thanks to our president, Rich Rusgo. We have been personal friends for nearly 50 years, and your commitment to my growth and success in this role, as well as your passionate commitment of time to our community, has been extraordinary, and I am forever grateful for your leadership and friendship. The community owes you a great deal of thanks and respect, and you certainly have mine. I also want to thank our professional and dedicated staff. I know that I challenge you every day, and I am proud and thankful for your diligent and successful efforts to serve our community with passion and love. I also want to thank our many lay leaders and members of our community who volunteer time or who participate in and use our programs and services. Without all of you, there is no point to what we do. Finally, a story about the point of what we do here at JFGT. A rabbi and a soap maker took a walk together. The soap maker remarked to the rabbi, "What good is all this Judaism? Why do we bother teaching about goodness, truth, justice, peace, and Torah? We have done it for thousands of years and still look at all the trouble and misery in the world. If Judaism is so wonderful and true, why is this so?" The rabbi said nothing, and they kept walking until they came upon a child playing in the gutter. The child was an absolute mess, covered head to toe in dirt and grime. "Look at that child," said the rabbi. "You say that soap makes people clean, but look at that filthy child. What good is soap? With all the soap in the world, that child is still dirty. I wonder, is soap of any use at all? The soap maker turned to the rabbi and explained, but Rabbi, soap is no good unless it's used. Exactly, cried the rabbi. So it is with Judaism. It isn't effective unless it is applied in daily life and used. And so it is with our JFGT. The real value in what we do comes from all of you continuing to participate in and support our programs and services with your investments of time and treasures. In the year ahead, I encourage all of you to commit to helping us help you explore, experience, and engage in the wonders of Jewish life in Northwest Ohio. Thank you all very much. And it is now my pleasure to deliver our leadership awards. Each year, the Jewish Federation and Foundation of Greater Toledo recognizes members of our community who have made significant contributions to Jewish Toledo through their leadership and dedication. Their service embodies the Jewish values of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. Established in 1999, the High School Leadership Award recognizes students under the age of 17 who have shown exceptional service to the Toledo Jewish community. The award winners will receive a $250 stipend for Jewish books, resources, or programs. The recipients are selected by the congregations and the program sponsors. This year's recipients are from Congregation B'nai Israel, Adam Davis, from BBYO and Temple Shomer Emunim, Esther Goldstein, and from the Friendship Circle, Madeline Van Dyke. Congratulations to all of you. Each year, in its role as the social services and safety net for Toledo's Jewish community, Jewish Family Service recognizes a volunteer who embodies the spirit and compassion of the JFS mission. This year's recipient of the Nancy Newberry Spirit of Jewish Family Services Award is Russ Damschroeder. When Jewish Family and Social Services developed the Handy Helper program, Russ assisted several seniors with projects in their homes, such as installing smoke detectors and grab bars, changing batteries, replacing light bulbs, and completing small repair jobs. In the COVID pandemic, when his wife, Deb Damschroeder, our JFSS Facility Case Management, Scholarship, and Community Outreach Coordinator, fell and broke her hand and wrist, he assisted her with shopping each Monday, picking up the business orders, stacking the shelves, and driving her as she delivered paper products and holiday baskets to her senior clients. She could not have done her work without his help. Thank you, Russ, for this well-deserved recognition. The Marjorie Siegel Jewish Communal Service Award of Excellence was established to recognize an outstanding Jewish communal employee or volunteer for their leadership in promoting Jewish values and improving Jewish life. The award acknowledges valuable contributions of the recipient and the deep appreciation of the Board of Directors and staff of Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo. This year's recipient is Ann Hochberg. In her role as JCRC chair, as well as a JFGT board member, Ann was deeply involved in assisting with the hiring of Daniel Perlman as our new JCRC chair, integrating him into his work and developing new bylaw terms, restructuring the JCRC. She is passionate about Israel, social justice, and the Jewish community. She has degrees in nursing, a law degree from the University of Miami, and works for the University of Toledo. Congratulations to Ann Hochberg, this year's recipient of the Marjorie Siegel Jewish Communal Service Award of Excellence. Ann, congratulations. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. I am honored to accept the Marjorie Siegel Jewish Communal Service Award of Excellence. It is an absolute privilege to work with such outstanding professionals and lay leaders. My work with the JCRC is a gift that keeps on giving. The JCRC is playing a critical role in navigating through these extraordinarily challenging times. I couldn't possibly describe all the work we do in the allotted 30 seconds, but at its core is relationship building. Please reach out to Daniel and/or me to learn more about the JCRC. We will persist in the never-ending work to make our community a better place in which to live. Pirkei Avot 2:21 says, "You are not required to finish your work, yet neither are you permitted to desist from it." Kei Nihi Ratzon.
Thank you, Sue Ann. The Shining Light Award was created in 2019 to recognize outstanding community volunteers who find meaning and reward in giving of their time and energy for the greater good of the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo. Nominees for this award are volunteers who go above and beyond the norm of volunteerism. They are tireless in their devotion to the mission of the organization, sit on numerous committees, enrich our community, and strive to make Jewish Toledo a vibrant place to call home. This year's recipient is Lauren Sachs. Lauren has displayed continued dedication to the Jewish community through a personal and unimaginable challenge in her life. She has shown strength, perseverance, and grace while teaching her girls the importance of community by giving of herself through her many volunteer roles that enhance our entire community. Lauren has a master's of social work from the University of Michigan and had a fellowship at Yale University. Recently, Lauren has worked part-time teaching fitness classes and as the special projects manager for the Toledo Jewish Community Foundation. Lauren was the recipient of the Harry Levison Young Leadership Award, served as past president for the Department of Jewish Programs, and is currently a board member for the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo and Temple Shomer Emunim. She has been chairing the newly reconstituted Community Programs Committee of the Board of the Federation this past year. Lauren dedicates this award to the memory of her husband, Dr. Bradley Allen Sachs, of blessed memory, who tirelessly served the medical community and his patients, including me. Congratulations to Lauren Sachs, this year's recipient of the Shining Light Award. Lauren, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Stephen. It is my great honor to accept the Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo Shining Light Award. We have all been living through a dark time over the past year or so. We have all lived through the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have had to cope with fear and the myriad changes to our daily lives. Many have also had to deal with periods of isolation and sickness, and I have personally faced profound loss, along with so many others in our community, in our country, and in the world. While I have always believed strongly in the concepts of tikkun olam and volunteerism, I have found the act of doing for others particularly resonant at this time. I think the name of this award is especially fitting, as I have found it meaningful to be the light for others in this time of darkness. When my husband passed away unexpectedly and suddenly in August of 2020, I chose to not only continue my volunteer efforts within the community, but felt it all the more important to redouble those efforts in his honor and as a means of moving through my grief. In fact, as I have faced my own darkness head on, I have also found that by shining a light for others, I have also shown a light for myself. I am happy to have the opportunity to serve our community, as it has always been a warm, welcoming, and vibrant community. I'm especially appreciative that my efforts have been recognized, as it helps to reflect back that light that we all need for sustenance. I am also proud to accept this award in memory of my late husband, Dr. Bradley Allen Sachs, who used his own light to help heal so many and to be a beacon for those around him, even those who he could not help save. Thank you again for the award and for allowing me to have the opportunity to serve.
Lauren, incredible. Thank you. Thank you for those beautiful words. The Bob Wick Jewish Community Service Award was established in 1998 to recognize Robert Wick, who was a great friend and supporter to the Jewish community. The award is restricted to businesses, corporations, and companies that provide exemplary support to the Jewish community. The award is only given to businesses, corporations, and companies that support the Jewish community. Past recipients include Huntington Bank, the Sylvania Township Police, Meyer, Dana Corporation, and the Kroger Company. This year's recipient is Trust Company Family Offices. Trust Company Family Offices is a national trust bank and regional purveyor of investment and trust services. Trust Company Family Offices has provided the Federation with outstanding service in connection with our retirement plan assets, consoled and comforted us with messages and tokens of support during trying times involving Israel's security and the safety of Jews here at home and abroad, and has financially supported our mission. We are joined tonight by Ann McCauley, President and CEO of Trust Company Family Offices, to accept this honor. Congratulations to Trust Company Family Offices, this year's recipient of the Bob Wick Jewish Community Service Award. Ann.
Stephen, thank you. Trust Company Family Offices is so deeply humbled to be recognized by you and receive the Bob Wick Jewish Community Award. I recently learned the word tzedakah, which, as you know, means charity, though in a deeper moral sense. I love the concept and think it's an ideal to aspire to. Whether it's a gesture or volunteerism or a monetary donation, tzedakah seems to focus on what is righteous. It's a striving to be good to our brothers and sisters, not for recognition, but because equity and justice and peace are their own rewards. I was not lucky enough to know Bob Wick, but it sounds like he was a worker for righteousness. So thank you, Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo, for all that you do and for carrying on Bob's legacy. We at Trust Company Family Offices are so honored to be a small part of your effort.
Thank you very much, Ann. Appreciate those kind words. Thank you. The Toledo Jewish Community Foundation Endowment Achievement Award recognizes outstanding efforts that help to grow and support our foundation endowment. This year's recipient epitomizes integrity, diligence, and commitment to helping members of the community achieve lifetime goals of endowed giving. Joe Wittenberg graduated law school in 1972 and practiced primarily in the areas of estate planning and probate. Joe has been listed in the Best Lawyers in America book for trust and estates and has been listed in Ohio Super Lawyers magazine as one of Ohio's super lawyers in the practice of estate planning and trusts. Joe has served on the Toledo Jewish Community Professional Advisory Committee and serves on the Etz Chaim board. Joe retired from the practice of law in December 31st of 2020. Over his nearly 50-year career in the law, Joe helped guide clients through the technical maze of estate, trust, and tax law. His wise counsel and careful guidance allowed his clients to fulfill lifetime intentions to benefit multiple charities, including the foundation and our community, with gifts that will last in perpetuity. We are grateful to have professionals in our community who, like Joe, are such faithful servants to their clients. Congratulations to Joe Wittenberg, this year's recipient of the Toledo Jewish Community Foundation Endowment Achievement Award. The Toledo Jewish Community Foundation Legacy Award is presented to individuals who create permanent and lasting community legacies in the form of a planned endowment gift to the foundation. This year's recipient is Nora Romanoff. Nora Romanoff is a natural leader. Always at the forefront of community leadership, Nora has served as both co-chairman and chairman of the former Toledo Jewish Federation Women's Campaign. She also served as president of the Jewish Welfare Fund Women's Board, where she used her keen leadership skills to bring together under one umbrella representatives from local agencies, synagogues, and Jewish organizations. Her commitment to become a Lion of Judah and subsequently a Lion of Judah endowment donor reflects the values and ideals by which she governs her life. Nora was awarded the Kipnis Wilson Friedland Award in 2011 in recognition of her dedication and leadership to our community. The prestigious internationally recognized award is given to Lions of Judah who have demonstrated the highest ideals of leadership and involvement. Recipients are chosen by their communities as women of valor with a lifetime of commitment to the Jewish world. Nora and Jack Romanoff of blessed memory have supported many Jewish organizations in the Toledo Museum of Art. Nora's legacy includes great pride in her children and grandchildren who have continued the tradition of being leaders in their Jewish communities in Toledo, Houston, Chicago, and Israel. We congratulate Nora Romanoff, this year's Toledo Jewish Community Foundation Legacy Award recipient. The Harry Levison Young Leadership Award was created in 1962 to recognize young adults of outstanding promise and leadership ability who exhibit an active interest in Jewish Federation of Greater Toledo and Jewish Federation annual campaign. It rewards exceptional service from these young adults. The award is open to young adults between the ages of 25 and 45 who reside in the Greater Toledo area. The recipient receives a cash award to be used for participation expenses paid, either at the General Assembly of the Jewish Federations of North America or the National Young Leadership Conference. The award can also be applied to participation on an Israel mission, particularly the National Young Leadership Mission. This year's recipient is Chad Kripke. Chad is the son of Sharon and Bobby Kripke. He has a degree in business from Ohio State and is married to Allison, and together they have 2 children who have attended and will attend the Gan Yeladim preschool. He is an executive vice president at Kripke Enterprises. As a teen, he was the local advisor to the Toledo BBYO chapter. He has served on the Department of Jewish Programs Board, Congregation of B'nai Israel, the Federation Campaign Cabinet, and the Finance and Tech Committee. Tonight, he was installed as the next treasurer of the Federation. He is an outstanding young leader and follows his father, Bobby, Aunt Joan Kripke, and cousin Matt Kripke in receiving this honor. Congratulations to Matt Kripke, this year's Harry Levison Young Leadership Award recipient. Chad, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I forgot how much I put in that bio, so this might be redundant. Hopefully I'll do the speech justice. But thank you very much, Stephen. Before I begin my remarks, I wanted to let you know that signed copies of my autobiography can be found exclusively at the B'nai Israel gift shop. I'm still working on merchandise agreements with Shomer and Nets. They're playing hardball. But anyways, all joking aside, I wanted to thank each and every one of you that had a hand in putting me forward for this award. The Harry Levison Award is very special to me personally. My father, my Aunt Joni, cousin Matt, and my good friend Andy Golding are just a few important people in my life that I'm aware of having received it. I'm sure I'm missing others. The gravity of this award is not at all lost on me. Not only does it recognize a job well done for previous leadership within the community, but it sets the stage for future expectations. I promise to live up to these expectations in my future endeavors, both within and outside the community. Philanthropy within the Jewish community in Toledo is almost a family heirloom within the Kripke family. It was a gift that was given to me as a child, and my father received it from his father. My children will certainly receive it from Allison and I. Unlike grandma's pearls or a silver locket, this is something that can be given onto future generations. Everyone can have an equal and ample share of it, and everybody wins. I would love if more families can pass this along as well, and many of them have. My experience in fundraising within the community has taught me that it is becoming increasingly difficult to get the younger Jewish population involved with the same effectiveness. I would love to reach out to those Jews in my age bracket and younger to identify their wants and their needs in order to bring these to reality within Jewish Toledo. We need them more invested in the Jewish community, not simply invested financially, but with time and frequent participation in community events. The Jewish population in Toledo is but a mere fraction of what it once was in its heyday. This is a very sad reality that we have come to terms with over time. But I look at it from the standpoint that it is only a matter of perspective. The pond is much smaller now, yes, but we all have the opportunity to be big fish. Being a Jew in Toledo had keeping a strong Jewish identity. It takes a lot more work than it would in a city like New York or Chicago or LA. Here in Toledo, you need to be the change that you want to see in your community. It is not handed to us. It takes our sweat and our time, and yes, our dollars to make it successful. But what a success it is, and what an even bigger success it can be. We are poised for such success here in Toledo. We have outstanding community members. We have a federation structure that rivals any larger Jewish community in the country. We have a wonderful dichotomy of congregations. We have a strong endowment in our foundation, and we have exceptional, dedicated staff members to help us make us successful. All we need now is you, and boy, do we need you. I challenge each and every member of this community to answer the call in the most literal sense. When the phone rings asking for time, board involvement, or your family's attendance at a program, don't look at it as a chore and see it for what it is. It is an opportunity to better the community in which you call home. I think of it as planting beautiful flowers in the front garden of your house. You would do this with a sense of pride
in the home in which you live. Building up our Jewish community is much the same. Invest the time, invest the money, and build it. And if you build it, they will come and they will keep coming. My grandparents planted seeds in this community, knowing that it would make a better Jewish life for me and my brother and the rest of their grandchildren. My parents, aunts, and uncles did the same, and I will do it for my children, and I will do it for your children. The cycle needs to continue because as Jews, this is what we do. We perpetuate the traditions of wholesome goodness that were passed on to us by the generations that came before us. My early involvement with BBYO and AZA started the fire within me for leadership within the Jewish community. My further work as an AZA advisor in my young adult life gave me the opportunity to pay it forward. I am finding myself at board meetings, sitting alongside the very same kids that I advised, or seeing some of them serve as teachers at my kids' religious school. Now I sit beside my very own BBYO advisors, Renee Rusgo and Denise Greenblatt, as leaders in the community. It is a beautiful thing and it warms my heart. I need to give special thanks to my loving wife, Allison, my kids, Jonah and Morgan, who are so supportive as I give of my time for Federation involvement. Thank you to my parents, Sharon and Bobby, for instilling great values into me throughout my upbringing. Special thanks to the nominating committee for considering me for the role of treasurer on the executive board, especially Eric Dubow, Mark Greenblatt, and Dick Greenblatt for the numerous supportive phone calls while I was trying to balance the decision to accept the position. Thank you to the leaders of JFS, including Nancy Newberry, Shari Bernstein, Tina Stephen, Tom Castle, David Berland, Ross Chabin, who gave me great guidance during my time as the JFS treasurer. I want to thank Arlene Levine and her staff for guiding Allison and I through the process of setting up our own donor advised fund, which I wanted to, and I also want to offer her my sincere condolences on the recent loss of her mother. As your new treasurer, I will be remiss in not thanking our campaign and foundation donors who provide the much needed fuel to run our engine. Last but not least, I absolutely want to recognize Stephen Rothschild and every one of his extremely dedicated and talented, amazing staff who thoughtfully execute everything that we need to accomplish our mission. We could not do it without you. Thank you all so much for the honor and recognition. I am forever grateful, and I pledge to live up to the expectations of this great award. Thank you.
Outstanding, Chad. Beautifully said. Wonderful. Congratulations to all of our award recipients. All of tonight's award recipients will be receiving mementos acknowledging their recognition after tonight's meeting. Whoops. As Rich has recognized, our work at Federation requires dedicated professionals. Each year, we recognize professionals who have achieved milestone years of service. This year, it is my pleasure to recognize and thank Rochelle Barczyk for her 10 years of service at the Ganyeladin Preschool as a teacher. Rochelle has an incredible spirit and passion for our children. We are grateful for her efforts and support of our program, Shaping Young Minds. Congratulations, Rochelle. And now, tonight's meeting and our outstanding award winners confirm what we all know about this community. We are a special place. Together, we can do great things. We would like to close tonight's program by sharing again our special community musical collaboration featuring lay leaders, volunteers, clergy, and community professionals. This musical prayer for healing symbolizes the strength and compassion that binds this community together. Please watch, listen, and enjoy our prayer that we all continue to be healed from whatever ills befall us.
perfect way to end our annual meeting. On behalf of the Federation Board and the Federation professionals and staff, we thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you and good night.